Emma Harper had come to Spain chasing the ghosts of her own making, or so she told herself on those long drives from Seville to the nursing home in Ronda. At 32, with her auburn waves perpetually dusted in flour and her green eyes carrying the weight of unspoken apologies, she was the American expat cliché. A baker who traded Wall Street burnout for olive groves and second chances. But the truth was stickier, like the glaze on her lemon-drizzled biscuits. Her family legacy wasn't one of triumph. It was a stain. A whispered scandal from World War II that her mother had whitewashed with Yankee grit and fresh starts in Boston. Emma baked to atone, or maybe just to forget, rising before the roosters to fill baskets with treats for the veterans at Casa del Sol, a sun-bleached facility clinging to the cliffs like a forgotten promise. Every morning she'd load her battered Fiat with scones, tarts, and those oatmeal cookies her grandmother swore could mend a broken spirit. The drive wound through cork oak forests, the air humming with cicadas and the faint salt of the Mediterranean. Ronda's nursing home wasn't glamorous. Peeling stucco walls, courtyards shaded by ancient figs, but it was home to men who'd fought in forgotten corners of the world, their stories etched in liver-spotted hands and faded tattoos. Emma volunteered because it felt right, a quiet rebellion against the privilege she'd inherited and the shame she'd carried across an ocean. That knock changed everything. It was barely 6:30, the sky still bruised with night, when the old man appeared at her door. She'd glimpsed him once before at the home, Señor Rafael Morales, 92, with a shock of white hair and eyes like polished obsidian. He rarely spoke, preferring to sketch wild horses in a battered notebook, but today he'd wheeled himself to the gate of her finca, a driver idling in the van behind him. Emma hesitated, her apron twisted in her fists, before cracking the door. "Señorita Harper?" His voice was gravel wrapped in silk, laced with an accent that rolled like the Guadalquivir. "You are the one who brings the sweets." I must speak with you." She nodded, stepping out onto the terracotta porch, the cool morning air raising goosebumps on her arms. The scones sat forgotten inside. "Of course. Is everything all right at Casa del Sol?" He didn't answer at first, just fixed her with that gaze, as if peeling back layers of time. Then softly, "Moreno. Your mother's name was Isabella Moreno, no? From the village of Benayajan." Emma's breath caught, sharp as a hook in her throat. No one here knew that name. Not the locals who called her La Americana Panadera, not even her closest friend in Ronda, the barista at the corner cafe. She changed her surname after college, buried the Moreno branch under layers of Harper denial. How do you know that?" Raphael's lips curved, not quite a smile. "I knew her, Nina. In 1943. She was everything to me." He reached into his jacket, pulling out a creased photograph. A young woman with Emma's freckles and fierce eyes, laughing on a sunlit balcony, arm linked with a soldier who looked eerily like the man before her, decades younger. Emma's knees buckled. She sank onto the step, the photo trembling in her hands. Isabella Moreno, her mother, had been 18 when Franco's Spain simmered on the edges of the war, smuggling messages for the Allies through the Pyrenees. But the family lore ended there, sanitized for American ears. What Raphael didn't say, what his eyes screamed, was the betrayal that followed. Isabella's arrest, her coerced confession that sent resistance fighters, including Raphael, to the brink of execution. She'd survived, fled to America pregnant with Emma's father, a GI who'd never known the full truth. The legacy? A grandmother's silence, a father's early grave from war stress, and Emma, forever the daughter of a collaborator. "Why now?" Emma whispered, handing back the photo as if it burned. "After all these years?" "Because the scones," he said simply, "they taste like hers. Cinnamon and orange zest, from her abuela's recipe. And because I'm dying and some debts aren't meant for the grave." She drove him back to Casa del Sol in silence, the basket of scones wedged between them like an accusation. The home's courtyard buzzed with early risers, wheelchairs creaking, laughter from a domino game under the arbor. Raphael excused himself to his room, but not before pressing a small brass key into her palm. "Mi habitación. Tonight. Bring wine. We talk about forgiveness." Emma spent the day in a haze, kneading dough at the local market stall she ran part-time, her mind replaying fragments of stories her mother had let slip on deathbeds. "We did what we had to, Mija. Survival isn't pretty. But pretty? It had cost lives. By evening, as the sun dipped behind the gorge, she found herself at the door of Raphael's sparse room, a bottle of Rioja under her arm. He was sketching again, the horses galloping across the page like escaped dreams. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the balcony overlooking the Puente Nuevo bridge, where mist rose from the chasm below. They drank in the twilight, his voice weaving a tapestry of youth and loss. Isabella, bold and beautiful. The courier with a smile that disarmed guards. Raphael, the painter turned partisan, sketching maps in code. Their love, fierce and fleeting, interrupted by a raid. Under torture, Isabella named names, his among them, to save her own skin. He escaped, barely, but the betrayal scarred deeper than the bullet that grazed his shoulder. "I hated her," he admitted, swirling his wine. "For years. Wrote letters I burned, painted her as the devil in my canvases. But time. It softens the edges. She wrote to me once from America. Apologized," said the child. "Your father was her redemption." Emma's throat tightened. "She never told me. Just baked like it could fix things." Raphael chuckled, dry as autumn leaves. "It almost does. Your scones, they remind me of mornings in the hills, before the world went mad. Maybe that's why I came. To say, forgive her. And you for carrying it." Tears pricked her eyes, hot and unbidden. For the first time, the legacy felt like a bridge, not a chain. They talked until stars pricked the velvet sky, and when she left, the key stayed in her pocket, a talisman against the loneliness that had shadowed her since arriving in Spain 2 years ago, fleeing a failed engagement to a man whose touch felt like obligation. Little did she know, across the courtyard, another pair of eyes watched. Eva Ruiz, the home social worker, 31, with raven hair that fell like a curtain over her warm brown eyes and a laugh that could coax stories from the stone-faced. Eva had noticed Emma months ago, the way she lingered with the residents, her hands gentle as she passed out treats, her smile hiding a storm. As a lesbian who'd grown up in the conservative folds of Andalusian society, Eva recognized kindred spirits. Women who baked their hearts into crusts because words failed them. That night, after lights out, Eva knocked on Emma's door with a pretext. A forgotten recipe request from a resident. But it was the spark in her gaze that lingered, the way she leaned against the frame, sundress fluttering in the breeze. "You looked like you needed company," Eva said, her English flawless from years studying in California. "Raphael can be intense. Wine." Emma hesitated, then stepped aside. They sat on the porch, the Rioja flowing freer than confessions. Eva shared her own ghosts. A mother who disowned her for loving women. A father who pretended not to notice. "I came here to heal others," she said, tracing the rim of her glass. "But some days it's all I can do to heal myself." Emma reached out, her fingers brushing Eva's, electric, tentative. "Then let's heal together. Just for tonight." Their first kiss tasted of cinnamon and salt, under a moon that silvered the olive trees. It was soft, exploratory, born of shared silences rather than urgency. Emma pulled back, breathless. "I don't do this. Not anymore." Eva smiled, that knowing curve. "Neither do I. But Spain has a way of rewriting rules." For weeks it was stolen moments. Eva slipping into the kitchen during Emma's baking shifts, their hands entwining over mixing bowls. Late-night walks along the gorge, fingers laced as they whispered dreams. Emma opened up about her mother's shadow, the betrayal that made trust feel like a luxury. Eva listened, her touch a balm, sharing stories of her own, growing up queer in a village where love like theirs was sin, yet blooming anyway, resilient as wild thyme. Raphael noticed, of course. From his balcony he'd watched them, a faint smile playing on his lips. One afternoon, as Emma delivered her basket, he pulled her aside. "The social worker, Ruiz. Her abuelo fought with me in the Maquis. Good blood. But be careful, Nina. Love in wartime leaves scars." Emma laughed it off, but the words lodged like a stone. Scars she knew too well. Summer descended on Ronda like a fever, the air thick with jasmine and the hum of tourists thronging the bridge. Emma's routine deepened, her mornings now laced with anticipation. Not just for the veterans' grateful nods, but for Ava's texts. "Meet me at the almond grove after shift? Bring that glaze." Their romance unfolded in quiet defiance of the heat. Picnics in shaded arroyos, where Eva would read poetry from Lorca. Lines about gypsy loves and moonlit duende. while Emma sketched her profile in the margins of a napkin, flower smudges turning to art. Ava was a force all fire and grace. Raised in a nearby pueblo, she clawed her way to a degree in social work, driven by a need to advocate for the forgotten. At Casa del Sol, she orchestrated art therapy sessions, coaxing veterans to paint their wars onto canvas. "Stories aren't just words," she'd say, her voice steady as she guided trembling hands. "Their colors, shapes, the mess of it all." Emma fell harder with each revelation. Ava's tattoo of a phoenix on her wrist, inked after her coming out, the way she'd volunteer at LGBTQ youth centers in Malaga, smuggling books and hope to kids like she'd once been. But beneath the idyll, fissures formed. Emma's legacy wouldn't stay buried. Letters began arriving, yellowed envelopes postmarked from Madrid, addressed to the daughter of Isabella Moreno. Inside, clippings from obscure archives, trial transcripts, names of the executed. One night, over paella at a cliffside taverna, Emma showed them to Ava, her voice cracking. "It's like the past is stalking me. What if Raphael changes his mind? What if he tells everyone?" Ava took her hand across the table, thumb stroking the knuckles. "Then we face it. Together. You're not your mother, Em. You're the woman who bakes redemption into every loaf." Their bond deepened that summer, physical in its tenderness. Lazy afternoons in Emma's cottage, bodies entwined on sun-warmed sheets, exploring with the reverence of pilgrims. No rush, no conquest, just the slow unraveling of defenses, Ava's lips tracing the curve of Emma's collarbone, whispers of mi amor mingling with the sea's distant roar. It was love as anchor, steady against the gales of doubt. Yet conflict brewed in subtler currents. At the nursing home, whispers circulated. Some veterans, hardline Franco sympathizers in their youth, eyed Emma's deliveries with suspicion after Raphael's nocturnal chats became legend. "The baker's got Moreno blood," one muttered over checkers, loud enough for Ava to overhear during rounds. She shut it down quick. Gossips for cowards. But the seed took root. Worse was Ava's family. Her hermano mayor Diego, a local cop with a mustache like Franco's ghost, showed up unannounced one weekend. He cornered Ava in the courtyard, voice low and venomous. "That American? She's trouble. And you parading it here?" Papa would roll in his grave. Ava stood tall, chin lifted. "Papa knew who I am. And loved me anyway. You should try it." Emma watched from the kitchen window, heart twisting. That night, as they lay tangled in the hammock strung between cork trees, Ava confessed the full weight. Her father's quiet acceptance before cancer took him, contrasted with Diego's rage-fueled denial. "He thinks love like ours poisons everything. But you make me believe it's the cure." Emma kissed her forehead, fierce. "It is. We'll build our own family, away from all this." But fate, that cruel Andalusian bull, charged harder. In August, during the feria, Ronda's streets alive with flamenco and lanterns, Raphael suffered a stroke. Emma was at his bedside when he woke, groggy but lucid, clutching her hand. "The letters. Not mine. Someone else digging. Be vigilant, Isabella's girl." "Who?" she pressed, but he drifted off, monitors beeping like accusations. Ava arrived soon after, her scrubs rumpled, eyes red from pulling doubles. She enveloped Emma in a hug that smelled of antiseptic and home. "He's stable. But I found something in his room. A journal. Entries about your mother. And my family." Emma pulled back, pulse thundering. "What?" Ava hesitated, then handed over the slim volume, pages brittle as autumn leaves. Raphael's script detailed the resistance. Couriers, safe houses the night of the betrayal. Isabella's name appeared, then crushing. Ava's grandfather, Javier Ruiz, listed among the named. "He was executed," Ava whispered. "Shot in the back 43. Papa never spoke of it. Thought it was Franco's purge." Emma's world tilted. Javier Ruiz, the partisan hero, Ava's blood. Dead because of her mother's confession. The legacy wasn't abstract. It was a blade, slicing through the woman she loved. "Does he know?" she asked, voice small. Ava shook her head, tears spilling. "Not yet. But if he wakes fully. God, what if he blames you?" The feria's music filtered through the window, guitars wailing like sirens, and Emma fled to the balcony, the gorge yawning below like her grief. Ava followed, wrapping arms around her waist. We don't have to tell him. This was lifetimes ago. But it's our lifetime now, Emma said, turning, their foreheads touching. Your family suffered because of mine. How do we love through that? Ava's kiss was desperate, a plea. The same way we breathe because we have to. They returned to the room, Raphael sleeping peacefully, unaware of the fracture he'd unwittingly widened. But as they drove back through fiesta-lit streets, Emma's phone buzzed. Another letter, this one typed anonymous. The truth comes out. Rui's blood demands justice. Paranoia bloomed. Who? A disgruntled veteran? Diego sniffing family vendettas? Emma doubled her baking, as if sugar could seal wounds, but sleep evaded her. Dreams tangled with gunfire and her mother's young face, twisted in terror. Ava, ever the rock, planned a getaway. A weekend in Granada, Alhambra's gardens to remind them beauty outlasted hate. They wandered hand in hand through courties of myrtle and fountains, Ava's laughter echoing off tiled walls. In a shadowed alcove she pulled Emma close. Marry me, she murmured, half-joking, a silver ring from a market stall glinting on her finger. Or at least promise me forever. Screw the legacies. Emma laughed through tears, slipping the ring onto her own hand. Forever. But first we fight for it. Back in Ronda the storm broke. Raphael rallied, demanding a group session, his final testament. He called it. The courtyard filled. Veterans in folding chairs, Ava facilitating, Emma at the edges with her basket like a shield. Raphael wheeled forward, voice frail but clear. I've carried hate too long. Isabella Moreno, she broke under pain. But her daughter. He nodded to Emma. She mends. With these. He held up a scone, biting in, crumbs tumbling like confessions. Applause rippled, tentative then warm. But as it faded, a figure rose from the back. Diego Ruiz, uninvited, face thunderous. Lies. My grandfather died because of that woman's mother. And now my sister consorts with her spawn. Gasps. Ava stood, color draining. Diego, enough. This isn't about. It is. He advanced, jabbing a finger. I knew about the letters. Sent them myself. To wake you up, Ava. Before you throw away everything for this. Betrayal landed like a slap. Not a ghost but flesh, Diego using history as a weapon against his own blood. Emma's vision blurred. She backed away, scones spilling from the basket like fallen soldiers. Ava whirled on him. Get out. You're no brother of mine. Diego sneered, eyes on Emma. She'll destroy you like her madre destroyed ours. He stormed off, the courtyard fracturing into murmurs. Emma fled to her Fiat, tires screeching on the gravel. Ava caught her at the gate, pounding on the window. Wait. It's not. But Emma drove, tears carving rivers down her cheeks, the ring heavy as lead on her finger. The legacy had won, she thought, her mother's sin echoing in a love she couldn't protect. That night, alone in the cottage, the oven cold for the first time in months, Emma curled on the floor, the anonymous letters scattered like indictments. Dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving, and she wondered if baking could ever fill a heart cracked so wide. Autumn winds stripped the olive leaves, turning Ronda's cliffs to skeletons, mirroring the hollow in Emma's chest. She stopped baking for the home. No baskets, no dawn rituals. The cottage, once alive with yeast and laughter, echoed with silence. Calls from Ava went unanswered. Texts piled like unanswered prayers. Please talk to me. Diego's gone, family meeting, he's out. Emma read them in the dark, thumb hovering over reply, but the words stuck. Your blood on my hands. She threw herself into the market stall, kneading fury into rye loaves that sold out by noon, locals murmuring about La Americana's fire bread. But at night the gorge called, its depths a siren's song. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, she drove to the Puente Nuevo, parking haphazardly, the bridge's arc looming like judgment. She leaned over the railing, wind whipping her hair, the chasm below swallowing her whispers. I'm sorry, Mama. Sorry for everything. Footsteps splashed behind her. Ava soaked through, coat flapping like wings. I knew you'd come here. It's your thinking spot. Emma didn't turn. Go home, Ava. Before your brother sends more ghosts. Ava closed the distance, rain mingling with tears on her face. Diego's a fool, clinging to hate like it's honor. Papa taught me better. Love the living, forgive the dead. She gripped the railing beside Emma, their shoulders brushing. And you? You're living. With me. Emma's voice broke. How? Every time I look at you I see Javier Ruiz. Shot because she named him. Because of me. Ava spun her gently, cupping her face. No. Because of war. Monsters like Franco, not a scared girl breaking. Her thumbs brushed Emma's cheeks, warm against the chill. I love you, Emma Harper. Moreno or whatever name you claim. Not despite the legacy for it. It made you kind, fierce. The woman who bakes for strangers. They stood there, rain a curtain around them until Emma leaned in, their kiss salt and storm, a vow renewed in deluge. I can't lose you, she murmured against Ava's lips. You won't, Ava promised. But we face this. Together. Reconciliation was tentative. Mornings baking side by side, Ava's hands guiding Emma's on the rolling pin, flour dusting their lashes like stars. They visited Raphael, who wept at their clasped hands. See? Love's the real resistance. He gifted Emma his sketchbook, horses now joined by two women on a cliff, entwined against the sunset. But Diego's shadow lingered. He escalated, anonymous tips to the local paper. Nursing home scandal, traitor's kin serves Franco's victims. The article hit mid-October, splashed across tabloids, twisting facts into venom. Protests brewed outside Casa del Sol. Franco nostalgics waving faded flags, demanding Emma's banishment. Fuera la traidora. Ava shielded the residents, barricading the gates with staff, her voice megaphone steady. This is a place of healing, not hate. But inside doubt gnawed. One night after chasing off a vandal who'd keyed Moreno Puta on Emma's Fiat, Ava collapsed on the couch, head in hands. What if they're right? What if I'm dragging you into my mess? Emma knelt before her, tracing the phoenix tattoo. No. This is our mess. And we'll clean it with truth. They planned a counter. A public story circle at the home inviting the town. Raphael as anchor, veterans sharing unvarnished histories. Not glory, but the gray of survival. Emma would speak, owning the legacy without apology. Ava coordinated, her networks from Malaga's queer community flooding in with support. Banners reading Amor sin fronteras. Musicians for the aftermath. The night arrived crisp, November's bite in the air. The courtyard overflowed. Locals, expats, even skeptics drawn by curiosity. Lanterns glowed like fireflies, a guitar strumming softly. Raphael opened, voice quavering. War makes villains of us all. But forgiveness? That's the hero's art. One by one veterans spoke. Tales of brotherhood, loss, the blurred line between traitor and survivor. Then Emma, rising on shaking legs. Ava's hand a secret anchor at her back. My mother was Isabella Moreno. She carried messages, loved fiercely, broke under torture. Her choice cost lives, including one in Ava's family. Gasps rippled, but she pressed on. I came here to bake apologies. But tonight I bake truth. I'm not her shame. I'm her daughter, loving a woman who teaches me grace. Applause erupted, thunderous, drowning the few jeers. Diego lurked at the edges, face ashen, but when Ava approached post-story, offering an olive branch, Hermano, join us or leave, he turned away, vanishing into the night. Later word came. He transferred to Seville, a quiet exile. In the afterglow, as music swelled and wine flowed, Emma pulled Ava to the arbor. Their dance slow under string lights. You were magnificent, Ava whispered, nuzzling her neck. We were, Emma corrected, spinning her out, then close. The ring on her finger caught the light, promise kept. But drama, that uninvited guest, knocked once more. Days later, a final letter arrived. Not threat but revelation. From Raphael's lawyer. Isabella's will, unearthed in a Madrid vault. A codicil written post-war. To Raphael, if he lives, forgive me. To my child, love without fear. The key unlocks more than doors, truth in Seville. The key from that first morning. Emma and Ava drove to the city, hearts pounding, to a notary's office in the Barrio Santa Cruz. Inside a safety deposit box. Letters from Isabella to Raphael, unsent apologies bundled with sketches. Horses, lovers, a baby sketch from memory, Emma's father. And a deed. To a small vineyard in Bineajan, Isabella's childhood home, left in trust for the blood that binds. Tears flowed as they read, the notary discreetly absent. She redeemed herself, Emma sobbed, clutching a letter. In secret. Ava held her. Like we're doing now. They emerged into Seville's labyrinth, hands linked, the vineyard a new chapter. Baking not just atonement but legacy reclaimed. Yet the climax crested not in triumph but trial. Returning to Ronda, they found Casa del Sol in chaos. Raphael, weakened, had slipped away in the night. A note on his pillow. To the lovers, paint your horses free. The grave holds no grudges. Grief crashed over them like the gorge's mist. Funeral was small, intimate. Cliffside, ashes scattered to the wind. As they stood vigil, Diego appeared, unbidden, eyes hollow. I was wrong, he muttered, voice raw. Papa. He forgave worse. For Ava. She embraced him, tentative, the family fracture mending in salt air. Emma watched, a quiet peace settling. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by something human. Imperfect, enduring. Winter softened Ronda's edges, frost limming the gorge like lace. A gentle counterpoint to the scars healing within. Emma and Ava claimed the vineyard. Rows of gnarled vines heavy with promise, the stone house overlooking valleys where Isabella once played. They renamed it Sol y Sombra, baking in its vast kitchen. Not just for veterans but community. Workshops for queer youth. Pop-ups fusing American pies with Spanish tarts. The legacy transformed. Emma's scones now stamped with a horse motif. Raphael's gift etched in dough. Their love deepened in domestic rhythms. Mornings tangled in flannel sheets, Ava's head on Emma's chest, listening to the vineyard's quiet pulse. Evenings by the fire, reading Lorca aloud, Ava's voice weaving spells. Intimacy was their language, fingers tracing spines like Braille, kisses that lingered like fine Rioja, bodies a map of trust rebuilt. No grand gestures, just the profound ordinary. Ava proposing properly under a full moon, knee in the dirt, ring forged from vineyard silver. Forever, mi panadera? Emma's yes was a vow, sealed with laughter and leaves in their hair. Diego's redemption unfolded haltingly. Weekend visits to the vineyard, awkward at first, him nursing a beer, eyes on the horizon. I sent the letters to protect her, he admitted one dusk as they pruned vines. But hate's a blindfold. Took losing you both to see. Ava forgave first, her heart elastic as fresh bread. Emma followed, offering a plate of oatmeal cookies, her grandmother's recipe, bridge to Boston ghosts. We're all survivors, she said. He nodded, the mustache twitching in what might have been a smile. Casa del Sol thrived under Ava's lead, now with Emma as co-volunteer. Baking resumed, baskets brimming, the courtyard a haven where stories flowed freer than wine. Veterans painted with renewed vigor, horses galloping toward sunsets, lovers hand in hand against storms. One session, an old sergeant pulled Emma aside. Your mother's choice saved my unit in directo. She named a decoy. We lived because of it. Truth's layers peeled endlessly, but Emma learned to hold them lightly. No absolutes, just the human weave. Betrayal birthing unlikely graces. Spring bloomed riotous, their wedding a quiet affair in the vineyard. Under almond blossoms, guests a tapestry of expats, locals, queer kin from Malaga. Ava in white lace, Emma in sundress and boots, vows exchanged with the gorge as witness. In shadows and sun, Ava promised, I'll bake with you always. Emma's reply, and love you through every legacy. Diego walked Ava down the makeshift aisle, his presence a hard-won piece. As they danced that night, flamenco guitars strumming soft, fireflies rising like blessings, Emma felt the weight lift. Not erased but integrated. Her mother's courage, Raphael's forgiveness, Ava's unyielding heart. Years blurred into a life richly lived. The bakery expanded, Sol y Sombra a beacon, classes for at-risk youth, where Emma taught dough kneading as metaphor for resilience. Ava rose in advocacy, lobbying for LGBTQ elder care, her phoenix tattoo a talisman in boardrooms. They adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy terrier named Duende, who chased vineyard cats with gleeful abandon. One morning as Emma pulled scones from the oven, the same recipe, now laced with vineyard honey, a letter arrived, postmarked Boston. From a distant cousin. Family archives, photos of Isabella post-war, smiling with baby Emma's father. Caption, redemption in small hands. Emma framed it in the kitchen beside Raphael's sketch. Ava kissed her temple. See? We're all baking something bigger. In quiet moments, doubts whispered. Had betrayal's echo truly silenced? But looking at Ava, freckles catching dawn light, Emma knew. Love wasn't absence of storm but dancing in the rain. And so, in the sun-drenched hills of Andalusia, two women built a legacy not of shame, but of spice and forgiveness, of cinnamon mornings and hearts mended, one bite at a time. The ghosts lingered, but now they smiled, content in the warmth of what endured.